The Cubs pile drive the Brewers yesterday. These youngsters are growing up quick and they're going to look to get paid. Can the Cubs remain hot? And let's take a trip down on the farm. We'll do that all and more right after this. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to 4-Star Chicago Sports. This is the Northside Nine, and we're back after a little 2-week absence. And when we left, the Cubs were in first, and we're back, and the Cubs are still in first. Kyle, how awesome was that last night, seeing the Cubs pile drive the Brewers? They beat their ass in Milwaukee. It was awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sean, I get to see it because I was at work and we don't have Apple TV, which is annoying that the Cubs keep putting these games on Apple TV. But yeah, when Bruce informed me in the second inning, it was 10-0. I couldn't have been happier. That's for sure. I hate the Brewers more than basically any team in baseball.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was actually pretty interesting to see that the Cubs got jumped out early, went slow. And it was supposed to be Priester who started. He came in the second inning. They gave the start to Alexander, so things got a little screwy there at the beginning. I don't know what they were doing. They actually pulled him in the first, I believe, right before Michael Busch. So they let him face 4 hitters. Maybe they thought they can go 1, 2, 3 and bring in Priester, but that never happened. The Cubs jumped on him, stayed on him early. And yet again, we have a guy named Ben Brown who's starting to become Big Game Ben. And we're going to get into what this guy has done right now, right off the bat, because I was a little tentative. I'm like, Ben struggled in his last performance. He's had some ups and downs this year thus far into the season, but he's had 3 immaculate performances in 3 big games. If we go back, as the graphic shows, on April 12th, 2025 at LA, 6 innings pitched, no earned runs, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, no walks. Cubs win 16-0. He followed that up a few days later at Wrigley. The walks took him out of the game early. Wasn't a quality start. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. Still a great start if you're all things considered for a young pitcher. And then last night, you have your third place team in the division coming in. And what does he do? He absolutely trailblazes these guys. 6 innings, 4 hits, 4 Ks, no walks. Cubs win 10-0. If you look at these games in which Big Game Ben is starting to pitch or starting in, the Cubs are very, very successful. Cal, what are your thoughts here on Big Game Ben? If this guy coming out of last night, 48 earned run average across 36 and 2/3 innings pitched, 35 struck out 35 batters, walked 18. He has allowed 42 hits, resulting in a 1.66 whip. For those, that's walks plus hits per innings pitched. He's starting to put up some numbers that you want to see from a guy developing in the major leagues. What are your thoughts here on Big Ben Brown?
Well, Sean, in my heart of hearts, I know that baseball is a game of averages, and I'm assuming at some point Ben Brown's probably going to have a tough stretch. And the only reason I say that, Sean, is because I've been saying this stuff about the Cubs all year, and they continue to just prove me wrong and continue to pitch well and hit well. So I'm going to keep saying it, and hopefully it keeps working. But I do eventually expect most of these guys to start to average out a little bit. I don't think Carson Kelly's going to finish the season hitting 400. I don't think Ben Brown's going to finish the season with a 1.2 ERA. But for a guy who we didn't even know was going to be in the starting rotation before the season started, he has definitely held his own. I mean, he is right now, as you could make an argument, has been the most important Cup.
Yeah, him and Colin Ray kind of surprising everybody. For someone with just 14 career starts, he's starting to build a reputation, and that's why I'm gonna call him Big Game Ben, shutting down the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and the Brewers, as we just pointed out. 2 of those 3 were in tough environments. It just speaks poise about how nasty his stuff can be and how good he can be. 1 hit balling the Arizona for 4, 5 hitting the Dodgers over 6. I mean, I'm getting pretty excited to see the evolution of the Cubs, and this is going to lead us into where we're going to go about paying these players moving forward. Not only that, another great takeaway from last night, as everyone knows, I know everyone's favorite players, Kyle Tucker and all this stuff. My favorite Chicago Cub is Ben Michael Bush since he's arrived here, and I got to give a big shout out to my boy because he hit his first career grand slam yesterday off of Priester, so that was pretty awesome. PCA comes up with 2 more dingers yesterday, both when the Cubs he hit it right. He hit his first home run right after Michael Bush, and then he proceeded to hit one. It was 9-0. He made it 10-0 later in the game off of this bullpen. So not that big of a deal when it comes to the Cubs last night. They're going to be tested over the next 2 days. I know Quintana today is off to a really smooth start. 1.14 earned run average and a 1.14 whip. I'm not really worried about Quintana tonight. I think the Cubs are going to handle him. I'm more worried about tomorrow's ball game against Freddie Peralta. And I actually forgot who's pitching for the Cubs tonight. Who is this pitching for the Cubs? Oh, Jamison Taillon. Hello.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be back to Taillon.
Yeah, it's back to Taillon. So that's fantastic. And you know what? We're going to get it going. We're going to get it going here. Scott, thanks for checking in. Love you, buddy. Little bit of a slow start. I forgot to take it off of private, so it's a public now. So hopefully we get some people to join us.
Nice,
I've been pressed this morning, man. I had to go see my mom, and I had a bunch of things on the docket, and I got back here, had to get my new mic. My mic is back finally. It was just a crazy morning. And I know Kyle, everybody say happy birthday because it was his birthday yesterday. He had a fantastic night at River Street working. So happy birthday, Kyle.
Thanks, man.
And Brandon, for that matter, because for those who haven't noticed, they are twins. But when we get back to Ben Brown, really quick on him, I like that he is developing that third pitch. You know, he's got a dynamic pitch mix that he's starting. He's obviously got that fastball that hits 97, sometimes 98, 99. He has got it up to 100. You know, right now his combined velocity is in the 77th percentile, which is not terrible. He's starting to mix in a knuckle curve, which is a new pitch for him. And his changeup is still developing as well. You know, his breaking ball is the best in the Cubs farm system by far. I don't think you're going to find a better one. He had that on display a little bit, kind of reminiscent of one Paul Skeens, who we're going to get to here in just a second as we recap last week. But Kyle, I wanted to get we've talked about aces and this lineup and the evolution of this Cubs team and how hard it is for this Cubs team to get out. Okay, now number one, Paul Skeens. This past Thursday, first time in his career, gave up 3 home runs in a game. They went back to back to back. It was the same inning. It was the 5th inning that they went back to back to back. 3 home runs, Suzuki, Tucker, and who was the other one? Was it
Swanson?
Swanson. So it wasn't back to back to back because Swanson's down in the order. We're going to get to Swanson too because I see Scott in the chat, and I want to get Scott's thought on how PCA is batting almost 600 since he went down into that 8th hole. Sometimes
Swanson.
it takes a little Swanson. Who did I say? PCA?
Yeah.
PCA. Swanson. Since he's dropped into that 8th hole, he's absolutely ripping the cover off the ball. So nonetheless, the Cubs have continued to face these aces, continue to put pressure on these aces. Kyle, what is going to stop this Cubs offense? Because it seems to be progressing, not regressing, as they go through this tough stretch of the schedule.
Nothing. I mean, Sean, we've talked about this before the season. If PCA could add power to that speed, he is a superstar. And, you know, you already have Kyle Tucker in the lineup, and we all knew that what we were getting when they traded for him. We knew that Kyle Tucker was a stud. We knew he was a superstar. I mean, Swanson, all you're asking from Swanson is what, 250, 260? I mean, that's what you're asking him to hit, whether you mix in a little bit of power here and there. But not only that, Sean, this is one of the best teams in baseball hitting the fastball. And, you know, nowadays in 2025, every single pitcher in baseball is throwing 100 miles an hour, 98 miles an hour, 96 miles an hour. The Cubs offense was never the concern, right? I don't think either of us were really concerned about the Cubs offense. They've been absolutely phenomenal. They're getting the 2 catchers are playing out of their minds. I mean, like I said, I don't think Carson Kelly's going to finish the season hitting 400, but what they've gotten from Amaya and And Kelly in that catcher role has been on offense has been absolutely amazing. And then you have Mr. Consistency, Nico Horner. You have Seiya Suzuki. He's always going to be a good hitter. Obviously, he's not. They didn't think he was capable of playing a position in the field, but I think he's a much better DH than anything, and I'd keep him there for the rest of his career. But yeah, Sean, I'm not worried about the hitting at all. I think you're seeing exactly who the Cubs are. This is who they are. This team can hit, and it's a dangerous lineup for opposing pitchers. I mean, there really is no out in this lineup. If you get Matt Shaw up here and Matt Shaw can get more consistent, this is going to be the most dangerous lineup in baseball, up there with the Dodgers.
Yeah, and one of the things that we wanted to talk about today in the title of this is Money, Power, and Pennants. It does say Pendants down there, I just noticed. We're gonna change that up really quick. But yeah, it's Money, Power, and Pennants, and the reason why this is such a critical thing for us right now is there's going to be some extensions. There's going to be some of these guys, and we're going to pop their names up here on the screen. And maybe not so much Seiya Suzuki as he's getting a little long in the tooth, and you have the Alcantaras and some of these guys in the minor leagues. But you are banking on the long-term sustainability of a Kyle Tucker, the long-term sustainability of a PCA, the long-term sustainability of a Michael Busch. The bad thing about this is we all have this stigma about the cheap Tom Ricketts. Will he spend to keep this core and keep the winning going on the north side? And as we take a look at Michael Busch, he's having another phenomenal season, 108 at-bats, 30 hits, 6 home runs, 22 RBIs, 16 runs, 28 Ks, 12 walks. That's the one thing you'd like to see flip. Little less Ks, more walks, but when you're a power hitter, Ks are always going to be up. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Seiya. Now let's talk about Seiya. I don't think this is a guy that you can resign, but you can if he's a DH. You can extend him. Right now, he's third in slug in the league, fourth in OPS, 4 in WRC, second in ISO, and third in on base plus slug, or fifth in on place plus slugging. And for those who don't know, ISO, it's just isolated power. It's a sabermetric statistic that measures the batter's raw power, focusing on extra base hits. This guy is slugging the ball all over the field this year. He's doing a phenomenal job. And just to touch on Seiya a little bit more, as you go through Seiya's career, you can see here, and I don't have 2025 up here, but 2025 right now seems to be as Seiya is having his best season. Guys, it was June 26th last year when he hit his 9th home run. He hit his 9th home run yesterday. It was May 2nd. This guy is off. As you can see on the numbers on the graphic, every single year, his batting, his OPS, his slugging has improved as a Chicago Cub. Now you have these guys like PCA, where they offered $75 million just a couple weeks ago. Since that offer, he's hitting almost 400 for the Chicago Cubs. I think the statistic was 386. So when you have, and here's Seiya's 2025 season so far, 291, 9 home runs, tied with Kyle Tucker for the team lead in 29 RBIs. His OBP is 359, his slugging 607, 966. He is right now 4th in baseball, I believe, in OPS. That's slugging on base percentage. Kyle, here's my question to you. And I think Kyle isn't a true believer in this. But we're going to ask you, and let's try and be realistic about it here. Where do you see the Cubs moving over the next couple of years with PCA, Michael Busch, Ben Brown? Cade Horton's going to come up. His contract will probably be extended a little bit. Are the Cubs waiting for the minor leagues? Or are they going to spend to keep this core and integrate the minor leagues with this core they have in the Major League Ball Club right now as we speak?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Sean, if you look at just history in the Chicago Cubs organization, this is just not an organization known for spending money. I mean, listen, I'm assuming somebody on this roster is getting paid. If I were the Cubs, I'm paying Kyle Tucker. I mean, I like all these guys. Like you said, I think Seiya Suzuki's probably better than Cubs fans have given him credit for. Probably better than that MLB has given him credit for. But Kyle Tucker's your superstar. That's the guy where if you want a chance at a championship, basically year in and year out, you want to build a team around that guy because you know who he is. He's Mr. Consistent. This guy's been absolutely phenomenal since he came to the majors. He's not one of those guys that goes through really long slumps like some of the other guys on the Cubs that we've talked about. And you're going to see some of that this year, Sean. You're going to see Seiya have a bad month. You're going to see Michael Busch have a bad month. Kyle Tucker's just one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball. It's just his swing. That's the guy I would pay. I would also, if you're making somebody priority outside of Kyle Tucker, it's got to be PCA. I mean, PCA is a superstar. He's a superstar. We talked about this many times, Sean. If you add power to that speed, I mean, there's no doubt in anybody's mind that Pete Crow Armstrong is the best base runner in baseball, right? I mean, it's not even a question at this point.
I don't
this guy can turn he could turn an average single into a double. He is the best base runner in baseball. You add this power. And like you said, Sean, since they offered him that contract, he's hitting close to 400. He's a superstar. It's not even an argument. The guy is absolutely a superstar, and he's going to be very expensive as well. But I could tell you this, just based off of the past, Sean, this team is not going to pay all these guys. Somebody's not going to be here anymore. Michael Busch, Seiya Suzuki, PCA, Kyle Tucker. Somebody's not going to be here. I've talked about this in the past, guys. This is not a team that buys championships. You're never going to see the Cubs go get every single great free agent that's available and build a champ like the Dodgers or the Yankees do. This is a team that's going to pay one or two guys like they did John Lester, and unfortunately for them in the teens, it was Jason Hayward was probably their highest paid hitter in the World Series year. But outside of that, Sean, they really didn't pay anybody. Most of those guys were on rookie contracts. Anthony Rizzo was on a rookie contract. Chris Bryant was on a rookie contract. The only guy they brought in, Ben Zobrist, but he wasn't crazy expensive. I mean, I think this is who the Cubs are. I think they put that staple in the lineup, like a guy like Kyle Tucker, your cornerstone, and then they try to bring guys up, develop them. Once they get to that elite status, guys like Michael Busch, they'll trade him for more prospects, and they'll bring those prospects up and just try to surround Kyle Tucker with those prospects. And then once those guys get good and prove that they can play in Major League Baseball, they'll trade him for prospects and bring those prospects up and try to surround Kyle Tucker with those guys. That's just who the Cubs are. We've seen it. This is who they are. Right now, the Cubs' biggest problem on this roster is starting pitching. They knew that. They knew that. They knew that they were a pitcher short because we heard that they were in the talks trades for Dylan Cease. We heard they were in all these different free agent pitchers they had offered them contracts, and they didn't sign anybody. So they knew that there was a problem there, and it still is, especially after Justin Steele went down. And the Cubs are not at fault for that. There's nothing you can do about that, but you should have a backup plan, and they didn't. Now, like you said earlier, Sean, this pitching staff has been awesome. This rotation's been amazing. But it's like I said, I'm not trying to be a pessimist. Baseball is a game of averages, and guys like Colin Ray at some point are going to start to creep up toward their career averages. You're going to see it. That's just how baseball is. It's a very brutal sport. 162 games. Colin Ray is not going to pitch to a 2 ERA for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
I can guarantee that.
Yeah, Michael Boyd got roughed up a little bit in Pittsburgh, jumped his earned run average by almost a run. These guys are going to even themselves out. But that brings me to the long-term success. And back when the Cubs won the World Series, I thought we were going to build a statue of Tom Ricketts out in front of the stadium. I thought this was going to be the goodwill that he was allotted for that time has kind of eroded over the past 5 years, especially with fans like our good friend Scott Angel, who's in the chat right now. For me, I do think that the pressure is on Ricketts to sign Kyle Tucker. He has to make Kyle Tucker stay on this club. Now, you do have some team control left on PCA, but then when it comes to it and you start looking at what the Dodgers have done and deferred all this and what PCA will accept being deferred and things of that nature, because you're looking at Kyle Tucker, $600,000 guy, or $1 million guy, and probably looking at if Kyle Tucker keeps on the same or if PCA keeps on the same track, you're probably paying him about the same. Does that kill Tom Ricketts to say I can have $100 million worth of players or almost $1 billion worth of players in my outfield alone? Is that something that we will ever see on the north side of Chicago? I don't think you can let either of us guys.
I've never seen it, Sean. They've never done it. The Cubs have never given a player over $200 million. And you're talking about two guys, like you said. Kyle Tucker's probably in that 450 to 5 range. And then if PCA keeps playing the way he's playing, he's in that 350 to 4 range. So, I mean, the Cubs have never done it. I mean, it would be awesome if they do. I hope with every ounce of my being that they do. I just don't. They've never done it, and I don't think that we're ever going to see that. I don't think that's the type of team. I don't think that's who Ricketts is. I don't think that's Tom Ricketts is. There's no way they're paying all these guys, right? We know that. Everybody listening to the show, everybody who watches the Cubs know Michael Busch isn't going to be here forever. PCA is not going to be here forever. Kyle Tucker. They're not going to keep this core together, but you would hope that they can make the right decisions and pay the right 2 or 3 guys, and then continue to bring up this, develop this talent in the farm system that we've been hearing about for the last 5-6 years. All the guys you acquired when you traded away this team and 5 years ago, and to continue to make sure you try to surround Kyle Tucker and PCA if those are the 2 guys they decide to pay, if they do pay them. Continue to surround them with this young talent. But I mean, that's Sean. You look at every team in baseball. Aaron Judge got paid. Juan Soto from the Mets got paid. Ohtani, the Dodgers, got paid. All the championship caliber teams in baseball pay their best player, and they keep them here forever, hoping that guy can at least give them a chance to win the World Series for the next however long the contract is, right? That's what you would like to see the Cubs do. Pay Kyle Tucker and then continue to surround him with young talent. Here we are as Cubs fans, like, do we really think they're going to pay Kyle Tucker? I don't know. I mean, that's pathetic. You're talking about the 4th most valuable team in all of Major League Baseball. This should be no doubt. Yeah. I mean, this should have happened already. This should have happened already.
And Scott says, no, we'll never see it. He's not the believer. Mike Ross out here says, if the Dodgers can do it, the Cubs can too.
Yes, Mike Ross, 100% correct.
Cricket Commish, we're going to get to that watch party. We're going to figure this out. We've been looking at some dates to do some Cubs things. Now that we got past the draft here, we're going to look at something. We'll get something together. We may do it live at a bar or we're watching a game and something like that.
Or Sean's garage.
Yeah, or my garage. We're working on it. We'll have some of our fans here. Maybe Scott and Steve are in the chat. Come out. We'll have a watch party together. We'll have a great, grand old time. But I want to thank Mike and Scott, Breaking News Bruce, and everyone for joining us this morning, spending a little time talking a little Cubs baseball. The Northsiders are hot as we go through all this anguish and deciding whether they're going to pay. Scott also says the Cubs can do it. They just refuse to. That's a really good point. And I want to talk about that, the refusal part. Now, when you look at what Ricketts has done, he put a $300 million renovation into Wrigley Field. He built the hotels. He bought the bars. Wouldn't you think that, okay, maybe the refusal was there where he spent the money to build the organization and build this roster and just get this thing to where it has to be to sustainability. Now, do you think, in my eyes, I think it's time for him to stop being cheap and spend that money? Because here, if I'm a season ticket holder for the Chicago Cubs, and I'd be calling my rep and telling him, if Ricketts does not keep Kyle Tucker on this team and he doesn't pony up that dough, why should I pony up that dough? And that should be the calling card of every single person that walks into Wrigley Field that has to spend money. Say, hey, I'm not spending money. And I know Scott Angel, I've kind of taken this stance this year on it, saying, hey, I'm not going to go there. If they don't want to show me that they can spend money and they're asking me to spend $25, $30 a drink, re-sign one of the best players in baseball. And mind you, over the past 3 years, there's only 2 players in baseball with better numbers than Kyle Tucker. You have a bona fide superstar here in your freaking building. You have to make that decision, because if you won't do that for us, why should we continue to come out? And yes, that goes to all of you guys that go to these 120 games, ditch work, and spend your hard-earned dollars. You should be thinking about this. If Ricketts doesn't want to put that money back into your faith and the money that he's asking you to spend at that stadium, why should you? And that starts with Kyle Tucker. being re-signed to the Chicago freaking Cubs. Plain and simple, done.
Yeah, Sean, unfortunately, the Cubs are never going to struggle to fill the seats ever. Because the diehard Cubs fans like us, we will refuse to go there and spend money to try to force the hand of the Ricketts. Most Cubs fans are not like that. For the most part, Sean, most Cubs fans who go to Wrigley Field, and I don't even know if I'd call them Cubs fans, because there's a lot of people who go to Wrigley Field just to party, man. It's a place to have a good time, have fun. Everybody always has that one Cubs game etched in a year in their schedule. Most of these people probably couldn't even tell you who the 5 players on the Cubs are. Unfortunately for fans like us, because of that, because they're always going to make money, always. It's never going to change. They're always going to fill those seats. He'll never be forced to spend money. Tom Ricketts will never be forced to spend money. And Sean, there's 2 different types of owners in sports. There's owners who bought the team because they're a huge fan of the team and they want to see the team succeed and they want to rebuild it and build this powerful roster who's going to win multiple championships. And there's owners who look at it like a business. And I think that's exactly who Tom Ricketts is. He looks at this like a business. And as long as he's making money, he doesn't have to spend a ton of money to go win a championship. Now, I love this comment here from Mike Ross, because I agree with this. And this is a problem in sports in general. I wish some of these organizations would realize that they make more money when their teams are good. Yes, 100%. Teams make more money when they're winning championships. You can go look at it. It's not even a question. It's a statistical fact. Teams that win championships make more money. I mean, Sean, since the Dodgers won that championship and have built one of the most powerful rosters in the history of Major League Baseball, how many Dodgers hats and jerseys do you? I mean, it's constant. There's a Dodgers shirt, jersey, or hat at my bar every single night, because people love to root for the best team. How many Patriots fans were there in the early 2000s or at the 2000s? I mean, most people watch sports because they want to watch the best of the best of the best of the best. So they're going to end up rooting for the best. I mean, like, if you're a White Sox fan, how could you possibly sit down and watch a White Sox game right now? It's almost it's like actually torture. It's painfully brutal. I mean, that's the same thing with the Cubs. I mean, if the Cubs want fans to continue to go there and spend $28 on Jameson ginger ale, they should be spending money on this team. Like you said, Sean, if you're going to ask me to go spend all my hard-earned money at your stadium, then at least put a product on the field that's worth watching. I just don't think Tom Ricketts thinks like that. The Cubs are never going to struggle to fill the seats ever. This is not the White Sox. It's not going to be a point where they're selling 12,000 tickets. They are always going to fill the stadium. So what's the motivation? And and then Tom Ricketts comes out and says, "Hey guys, we're breaking even on the baseball side." Oh, really? Because I'm pretty sure you bought this organization for $850 million, and now it's worth over $5 billion. So can you define breaking even?
Yeah, and I'm sorry to every Cub fan if I offend you in any way, shape, or form, but I am going to really question my Cub fandom, which I was born and raised on the north side in the Ravenswood, which is 10 minutes from Wrigley Field. I used to hop the train with my grandfather when my parents were at work, and we'd be back home for dinner by 4:30 right after the ball game. This is in my blood. It's in my system, but I might have to get a transfusion, because I cannot honestly sit here and watch this guy pee down my leg and tell me it's raining. You have to, without a doubt, and I hope he feels this pressure, re-sign Kyle Tucker to a 10-year contract or whatever contract fits his needs. But you should, and for all intents and purposes, we've heard they are negotiating, they are talking. Nothing is concrete, but there's been multiple reports that say talks have heated up, they have picked up. So who knows until it actually comes out into the public. But I will tell you, they will save me as a fan. I mean, you can see behind me, a quarter of my garage is decorated in the Cubs. I love this team. I am not the biggest fan of baseball. I love the Cubs, and I haven't missed a Cubs game in probably 15 years.
Sean, what's very concerning for me is when you heard these contract negotiations, when all the new rumors came out, all the news came out, that the Cubs are saying that they're not going to defer any money. That's concerning. You know what that means? So basically, the Cubs are going to give Kyle Tucker his money through the life of the contract, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. Deferring money, like teams like the Dodgers do, where I think Ohtani's going to get $68 million a year when he's like 50 years old. He's not going to be playing baseball anymore. But That's what saves them from getting too far over that luxury tax. That's how the Dodgers do it. Now, they can spend all this money on half the team this year and spend all the rest of the money on the other half of the team later on in the future. If they're not going to defer any of Kyle Tucker's money and the life of that contract is going to be paid out while he's on the Cubs, it's almost impossible for them to pay PCA and Kyle Tucker, or you have to defer PCA's money. But for what it sounds like to me, Sean, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they're not willing to defer anybody's money. So they're only going to basically pay one guy, which we've seen since I've been watching the Cubs. You just talked about it. You've been a Cubs fan your whole life. Jason Hayward was the only really big contract on that team. Now you have Dansby Swanson. They're maybe willing to pay one more guy. So somebody's gone, which is heartbreaking because, what's frustrating, Sean, is I love Kyle Tucker. I'm glad they brought him here. I hope they pay him. But PCA is homegrown. You guys made him who he is. Your coaches developed this guy into who you have. This guy is he can make you money. You can.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you guys watch those games in Japan. These Japanese fans are screaming PCA, PCA. I mean, this guy is marketable. You can 100%. There's so many things you could do to make money off signing a player like PCA and keeping him here for the rest of his career. So many different things you could do, but I just don't see the Cubs doing it. And maybe I hope to God, guys, everybody listening, I hope I am way off and I'm wrong. And you guys can all say, why are you talking about Chicago Cubs on a podcast? You don't know what you're talking about. They paid everybody. I hope so, but I just don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I want to be wrong about this. The thing is, the most expensive contract in Chicago Cubs history is $170 million to our current shortstop, Dansby Swanson.
Wasn't Hayward a little bit more? I think Hayward was a little bit more than that.
No, I think I looked it up the other day.
I thought he was like 178. I thought Hayward got.
See, I'm pretty sure.
Bruce, see if you can find that for us. But I thought, yeah, and Mike Ross, you're correct, 100%. They don't want any Bobby Bonilla contracts. So here's what the Cubs are considering, and this is what why the Dodgers are very smart. The reason the Dodgers are okay with deferring the money, and if you listen to the interview that their owner had, so a lot of people were like kind of dogging on the Dodgers for pushing all that money back. Like, oh yeah, you guys may win a championship this year, but you're going to be paying Ohtani $68 million a year while he's sitting on his couch. And you know what the Dodgers owner's response was? Yeah, right now our organization's worth $10 billion. When we're paying Ohtani to sit on his couch in 20 years, we're going to be worth $30 billion. So we don't care. We don't care. And the same can be said for the Cubs, guys. The Cubs are also, in 10 years from now, the Cubs are going to be double, maybe triple the value that they are at now. So who gives a shit if you're paying Kyle Tucker to sit on his couch? You're going to be worth $30 billion. Give it to him.
Right.
Who cares?
Right. And so it is Jason Hayward on length and structure. But I think per year it's Dansby Swanson.
Yeah, because Swanson was a year shorter, right? It was 7 years.
He was a year shorter.
Yeah, so annually, I think Dansby Swanson is the highest paid Cub in the history of.
But that is the 8 years, $184 million, and I mean, you're getting that. Those are subpar player contracts these days.
Yeah, Sean, that's an average player in baseball right there nowadays. I mean, there's two $700 million players in baseball right now, and Ohtani and who's the other guy? Who else? Oh, Soto. Yeah, they both got over $700 million. I mean, that's 184. The Cubs are like, we're not going to pay somebody $190 million. We've never done that before. Like, well, it's time. You have to change with the times, guys. You have to adapt.
Yeah.
This is the way the world is going. The more it's capitalism, the more people go to these games and watch and buy jerseys and buy the marquee network for their television, the more that these players are going to be demanding in salary, and which they should, right? If the owner's making $2 billion a year off of the team, the players should be like, well, why am I only getting paid $2 million a year, $3 million a year? I should be getting, if the owner's making $2 billion and I'm the reason that this team is good and the people are coming here and spending all this money and buying these jerseys are because of guys like me, I should take a bigger chunk of that, which is right. I mean, they should.
Yeah,
I mean, guys, listen, I'm not lobbying for sports players to make more money because I think it's ridiculous that people who play kids games get paid king's ransoms, but this is just the way the world's going. It's just the way the world's going.
So there's your largest average annual salaries in Cubs history. Swanson at 25.3, Marcus Stroman at number 2 at 23.7, And then Hayward at 23, Yu Darvish at 21, and Chris Bryant at 19.5.
Yeah, I looked at the top 10 the other. I cannot believe. I mean, listen, no disrespect at all, Sean, but I cannot believe Matthew Boyd is a top 10 paid Cub in the history of the Chicago Cubs. That's insane.
And guys, that's per contract.
Yeah, and annually. I mean, he makes $15 million a year.
Yeah, he's definitely on this list. A couple others: Zambrano 18.3, Sammy Sosa 18. So yeah, I mean, when you look at it too, other big contracts, and when you look at this now, when you look at Aramis Ramirez and what Aramis Ramirez was for the Cubs, and to me, one of the greatest Cubs of all time, he said
the greatest baseball players.
What's that?
I think he's one of the greatest baseball players of all time. I think he's one of the most underrated baseball players in the history of baseball.
I agree with you 100%. He got paid. He signed a 5-year, $75 million extension. I mean, that's a joke these days. So the Cubs do have to. Ricketts has to come to this realization, and I agree with Mike too, because he said it earlier in the show. You make more when you win. You sell more product. You fill more seats. Not that the Cubs have a problem with that, unfortunately, but my question to Cubs Nation is, and some of you guys in the chat, I already know Scott's answer. Mike Ross, breaking news, Bruce, you guys, if the Cubs don't re-sign Kyle Tucker, where are you at with your Cubs fandom? Is Tom Ricketts showing you that he is not a serious owner? He doesn't want to be a serious contender, a serious player, and that he doesn't really care about you as the fan. Because honestly, that's what it says to me. It says, you know what? You guys are going to come whether I sign Tucker or not. So why spend $600 million if you guys are going to put $36,000 in the stadium every year anyways? It's time for Cub fans to wake up. And people can knock White Sox fans all they want, but hey, man, that product is junk, and they're letting their owner know, hey, you suck, and you did this on purpose, so I'm not going to spend $1 at your ballpark. You can't even sell tickets for $1. For Christ's sake.
Sean, they can't pay people to take tickets to White Sox games. They literally can't be like, hey, here's 2 tickets and $50. And people are like, yeah, no, thanks. Appreciate it. But yeah, unfortunately, Sean, this is what sucks is if this was his plan all along to look at this as a business and not be a fan and not try to put the best team together every single year and compete for championships, then you shouldn't have bought the Cubs. It's not fair to the fans to do that. I mean, this guy's like, oh, here's this business proposal. Here's an opportunity for me to make more money. And meanwhile, the Cubs fans are the ones who have to suffer. This team, with what they're valued at, with the amount of money that this team brings in, they should be in the World Series conversation every single year. I mean, this is a charter franchise in baseball. Like I've said it 100 times, the 4th most valuable franchise in MLB. This team should be in the championship conversation every single year. Sean, I think they are going to get an extension done with Kyle Tucker. I do. But unfortunately, I just don't think I think that's going to be it. And you guys, we heard a couple weeks ago that this team came out and offered a contract extension to PCA for $75 million. That's a kick in the nuts. That is an absolute kick. That is pathetic. That's disgusting. That's like when the Bears offered Olin Kreutz $15 an hour to be an offensive line coach. Like that's absolutely this. It's time to change. It's time to change. The world is changing, guys. You have to change with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying. Like, when the Cubs first won in 2016, and we had that young core with Baez and Ricketts, Bryant and Rizzo, and before Addison Russell went all cuckoo and got in trouble. But there was a great young core here, and that's what I was saying. I thought, we'd have a statue erected. This guy finally. The owner brought 6 championships to Chicago. I mean, even 3. If you can put together a decade of dominance like the Blackhawks did, you don't have to win every single year. But for 10 years straight, the Blackhawks were in the Western Conference Finals. And if they weren't, God damn it, they were making a strong push to be there. This is, and they went out and weren't cheap. They went out and signed a Marian Hossa. That's your Kyle Tucker. They extended him and kept him in Chicago. These are the things.
They made Caden Taves 2 of the highest paid players in the NHL immediately before they even had a chance to hit free agency. The Hawks were like, we're not going to compete with a bunch of other teams for these guys. We're not going to get to a spending. We're just going to pay them now, lock them down. That's what the Cubs should be doing with 2 or 3 guys. Now, Sean, listen, I'm also okay with not paying everybody. Because like you saw what happened with Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. I mean, and Javier Baez. No disrespect to any of those guys. I love them. They won a World Series, but somebody's going to fall off. Somebody's career is not going to be. They're not going to be the same guy they've been for their entire career. You just have to be very careful about which guys you choose to pay. And I think Kyle Tucker should be number one on the list because he's proven that he is the most consistent of the bunch. So you know what you're going to get from Kyle Tucker. If you give Kyle Tucker an 8-year contract, you know what you're getting for the next 8 years. You know it. You know, it's not even a question.
Hey, and really quick to my Puerto Rican brethren, Boricua, Javi Baez, I got to give a quick shout out. This guy is having a return to form season, 3 home runs, 27 hits, 90 at bats. He's batting 300, 14 RBIs, couple stolen bases. His OPS is 804. You know, he's finally seems like he might have found something. And I believe he's playing center field.
Isn't it funny, Sean? Isn't it funny that when a team is competitive and they think they have a chance to make the playoffs and maybe even push at the World Series, everybody starts to play better? We've talked about this before. When players are on teams, I think players become disinterested. And sometimes I think it's subconsciously. When you talk about the Bears last year, where people are like, man, Stevenson started the year off so strong and then finished so poorly. Or, man, Jermaine Evans was so good before he got here, and all of a sudden he doesn't look that good. Yeah, because it's tough to stay invested in a team that doesn't give a shit about winning. But as soon as you see those teams start to stack together wins and they start to believe in themselves and be like, I think we could do this. I think we could World Series. You'll start to notice that they all start to play better. It's almost, you can go look at it every single championship in the history of sports. Every single, even just the fact, Sean, that bringing Kyle Tucker here. I think Kyle Tucker has made everybody on this roster better. I think that's what superstars do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you know, if you take a look at the Astros, who dropped one to the Chicago White Sox last year or last night, there you go. I mean, he said, I honestly believe that him coming to Chicago has made this team 110% better. Just like you said, I think that this would still be a good team, but the integration of Kyle Tucker into this roster has made everyone better top to bottom. You know, he seems to be a little bit of a stoic guy. He doesn't like smile or get too excited, but you actually see him a little bit recently cracking some smiles. I think he's having fun in Chicago. And I know Chet Hoyer was on the score, and he was saying, you know, a great selling point is a comeback victory, the crowd chanting your name in right field and Wrigley and all that. And the best recruiting tool for Kyle Tucker is $500 to $600 million. Yeah. He doesn't give a shit about people chanting his name. He knows what he's worth. He knows how he stacks up in baseball. So just and excuse my language, don't dick around with this guy.
Yeah, and Sean, if you want to go into the contract negotiations and maybe lowball him a little bit and be like, hey, I know you can get 500 or somewhere else, but we'll give you 475 because we think you love Chicago. Sure. Wow. But if he goes, I don't give a shit about Chicago, I want 5, then give him the 5.
Right.
It's very simple. I mean, listen, that's how contract negotiations work. Like, you have to start low and then eventually you'll kind of meet in the middle somewhere. But yeah, the $75 million offered to PCA, don't do that.
No,
don't do that. That's insulting. That's insulting.
Please don't do that. And really quick, guys, I don't really think that you have to worry so much about PCA. He is under Cubs control until 2030. He is not arbitration eligible, I believe, until 2027. So you have this year, you have next year. Then if you want to open negotiations in 2027 and extend them, but Cubs have full team control of PCA until 2030. So technically they don't have to negotiate with him or do anything with him. So I don't know if when they offered him that $75 million and the extension, I didn't see the full workup of that extension. What's up, James? Thanks for joining the show, brother. I didn't see the full workup of that extension. So I don't know if it was like a long-term extension or they were just paying him more because he's not making a lot of money right now.
No, Sean, and those arbitration numbers are going to go up too.
Oh, yeah.
Those going to go up too. Like if the Cubs are like, oh, man, we just could keep PCA here hitting 400 and 30 bombs and the best base runner in baseball, and we'll just pay him his $750,000 a year. They are sadly mistaken because he's going to get arbitration every single year, and they're going to have to end up paying him anyway.
So, Kyle, this is hilarious, and I just got to pull this up really quick because I saw this on Fangraphs, I believe it was this morning. Right now, Pete Crow Armstrong is on base for 39 home runs, 113 RBIs, 59 stolen bases, and a 10.3 WAR. Guys, That is insane.
That would be the record, right? That's the record, isn't it? That would be the highest WAR of all time, right?
Yeah, because I think, well, if you want to compare it to Ohtani, I think Ohtani's highest WAR was like 8.
Yeah, that's when he was
9.
pitching. That's when he was pitching.
And I believe for the Cubs, and I'd have to go back and check this because I haven't looked at this in a long time. And Bruce, if you want to check this out, 2016 WAR for Chris Bryant. I believe his WAR that year was 7.5. I'm not 100% on that. I think it was somewhere around there. So if you're, and hey, guys, I'll say this. I fully expect his WAR to drop or fluctuate.
Yeah. It's, if he finishes at 10, don't worry about Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. I was gonna say. I believe I believe that's the case, but just his on pace numbers right now at 39 dingers, 113 RBIs, 59 stolen bases. And there you go. Bruce said 2016, 7.7. So you talk about the production, and for people who forgot about how good Chris Bryant was, guys, I'm wearing my Brizzo Souvenir Company shirt, some of my favorite times in Chicago Cubs baseball. We have the Chicago Cubs are depositing a lot of souvenirs this year up and down the lineup. So did you see that drunken, stupid brew? Or you guys didn't see it last night? The stupid drunken Brewers fan, man. I wish the Cub fan would have caught that. He caught the grand slam from freaking Michael Bush, and he threw it back onto the field. So hopefully Bush got that ball.
Yeah, Bush got it.
Hopefully he has his first career grand slam.
Because the players respect each other, man. The players understand all that stuff. Like, hey, this is your first grand slam. They go give it to the Cubs dugout. They know that. That fan's an idiot. What an idiot.
Yeah, and you want to know too,
I'm keeping that shit. Are you kidding me, dude?
I don't know if anyone saw the game last night. He's probably hammered. He threw the ball back onto the field, and they kept the camera on him for a second. He just flexed and said, "Fuck!" He was a Brewers fan, so I thought it was awesome. But they asked PCA yesterday, Jesse Rogers. He said, "It's so easy to hit in this lineup. I feel so confident going to the plate in the 7th hole. Talk about flying under the radar. I feel like I can hide in there in any way. Hitting in this lineup is the biggest difference I've seen this year to any other year I've ever played baseball." So this guy is just eating up, having great hitters around him. And you know what? The good thing that we're seeing is we all know Dansby Swanson's been struggling. He's picking it up a little bit now that he's been dropped into that 8 hole. But the one thing that you also have to think about is PCA, even with the pitchers knowing how bad Dansby Swanson's bat is, he's still swinging a hot stick ahead of a dead bat. That speaks volumes for exactly where PCA is. I also love the fact that PCA's got this kind of a kickback leg. He's sitting to the furthest part of that batter's box right now. He's this close to being illegal in the batter's box. It is just really awesome to see his development. You got to tip your cap to Dustin Kelly, because Dustin Kelly has done a phenomenal job, not only with PCA, but with Amaya. And I have a feeling that he's going to be working with Matthew Shaw. And guys, I still believe in Matthew Shaw. I don't believe in the Cubs organization for the simple fact is they should have gotten a quality replacement. You knew signing Justin Turner was not going to be the guy. You've seen Jackson Holiday. I went over this a couple weeks ago with some of these big superstars, Matt Olson, these guys that fluctuated up and down until they finally got it in the big leagues. The Cubs don't have the luck of other organizations whose rookies just come up here and take off right away. I haven't seen that. Michael Bush might be a good one though. He has been rock solid since debuting on the Chicago.
Well, Sean, and it's not like Matt. People talk about Matt Shaw like he was the worst player in baseball. I mean, yeah, obviously he's hitting 170, whatever. He's struggling at the plate. That's for almost every rookie has that at that point in their career. But I mean, for the most part, the guy was getting better. I mean, first of all, he was very good at seeing pitches. For a rookie, very good at taking pitches. Second of all, you could tell that his defensive metrics were getting better every single game. I mean, this is a guy who, it's not like he's played third base his whole career, guys. This is a guy who was put in a position that he's probably not very comfortable with. And you could tell he's just an athlete, and he was starting to pick it up quickly. I'm not worried about Matt Shaw at all. The only thing that sucks for the Cubs is if they are capable of winning World Series this year, if this team can actually keep the success, sustain the success, get to the playoffs and find themselves in a World Series, they're probably going to need a third baseman. Like you're going to need it. You're going to be playing some really good teams. You're going to need a third baseman. I think Matt Shaw could become a 300 hitter by the end of this year? No, I don't. But I think Matt Shaw in his career, you talk about 2 years from now, I think Matt Shaw is going to be one of the best players in baseball. And there's a reason, you guys, that this guy was so high on the Major League Baseball prospect list, because they know when it all comes down at the end of the day, man, when this game starts to slow down for a little bit, I'd like to see him change that stance maybe a little bit too. But when it all comes down to it, Matt Shaw is going to be a very, very good player in baseball for a long time. Listen, the Cubs have the youth to win a World Series. This team can win a World Series. You just have to add the pieces around them, and that's going to take spending. Yeah. You're going to have to spend money. Like, Sean, can you imagine if this team had Max Fried?
Oh, God.
Dude, your World Series. That's a World Series.
My next question here, Kyle. The hot corner is an issue. Third base, John Birdie, and I'll tell you, Nicky Lopez, he flashed some really good leather yesterday for the Chicago Cubs at third base. Birdie's error, for all intents and purposes, cost the Chicago Cubs the second game versus the Pirates. He opened up that inning by not making the play. I don't expect Birdie to be perfect. I do like John Birdie. I think John Birdie is a very solid baseball player, great bench player. I don't know about a guy I want to see starting every day. So here's my question, because I do believe the bullpen is starting to come together. I know we've still had some struggles. Give Porter Hodge. Presley's looked incredible. Porter Hodge has had his ups and downs. Julian Merriweather had the one bad game. I still have confidence in him. You're starting to see Daniel Palencia put it together. Daniel Palencia coming in.
If he keeps doing what he's doing, he might be their best pitcher.
Who, Daniel Palencia?
Yeah. If he could continue to hit the corners of that strike zone at 102, 103 miles an hour, that's your best pitcher. Mm-hmm. That's your most dangerous one-inning pitcher. And you know what the Cubs need to stop doing? Is stop sending Palencia out for 9 batters. It's not who he is, man.
He's a one guy at bat son of a gun, dude. He did this last year. They did this with him last year where they tried to extend him for innings. And he get into that first inning, it lights out. You bring him back out for the second inning, it's lights out for the other team. It's like, Jesus.
That's just not who he is. That's all right. I mean, the guy's supposed to be a setup guy or a closer, somebody in that role. Then he should only be expected to get 1 inning worth of work. Remember when Chapman was here in the World Series team and he was like, hey, listen, people are like, what's going on, Chapman? You've always been this guy who just comes in and mows everybody down. 1, 2, 3. He's like, yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not who I am. I don't do that. I don't know why they keep asking me to do this. Like, that's the player knows who he is. He knows what he's comfortable doing. Listen to him. If Palencia is getting 3 strikeouts and 9 pitches and mowing him down, and then he bring him back in and he's allowing 3 hits in a row, then obviously he's just a 1-inning guy. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not rocket science, right? I mean, obviously this guy's just a 1-inning guy. Sean, I will say this: that Cubs bullpen is starting to come together.
It is. It
just sucks because the Cubs are like literally 1 injury away from everything.
Well, this is my thing, Kyle. For the Cubs, for me, I think the Cubs are a contender in the NL. I think they can
100%.
Any team. My question is, because we're talking about this now before we flip the script and we stop beating up Tom Ricketts. Will they trade for a front end pitcher? Will they trade for one more guy in the bullpen? And will they go get a third baseman? And I'll give you a candidate. Go ahead and answer that, and then I'll give you my candidate. I think the Cubs should go get.
I don't know, Sean. I mean, right now, I would say I assume they're going to trade for a starting pitcher. I mean, there's already been talks about them looking for a starting pitcher, so I'm assuming at some point they're going to make that trade. And we talked about it before the season started. They were looking to add another starting pitcher. They just never came to an agreement with anybody. But I think they're going to rely on their farm system to fill out this bullpen, Sean. I think that's 100% what the Cubs. That's their plan. To keep bringing these guys up, these guys who are in the minors, and keep bringing them up and hope they fill out this bullpen. But the problem is you're going to have some rookie struggles. At some point, these guys you're going to have rookie struggles, man. So you better be damn sure of who you're bringing up. And if you're going to get to a playoff series and ask a guy like Kate Horton to come in the 7th inning, that's a tall task.
Yeah, the guy that I was kind of looking at, He's hitting 286, 6 home runs, 9 RBIs, sixth-year player, kind of switching roles around. He is playing second base for the Seattle Mariners right now, but that name is Dylan Moore. I know he doesn't jump off the screen, but he can hit for power. He's a right-handed bat. Just someone who can solidify that third base position. The one problem is when you have a team like the Mariners who are 19 and 12.
Yeah, I was going to say they're not trading anybody.
They're not trading away parts. But if you can incentivize the deal for a guy like Dylan Moore for something future and say, hey, this guy is not playing every day. I'm just trying to look. And he's playing most days. He does have some days off on his schedule here. But he is playing a lot for the Mariners. So the Cubs would have to incentivize that deal. This is like the Bears and the offensive line, which they finally addressed, but we talked about it for 3 years before they did it. This is our third year talking about the bullpen and third base. And I know there was high hopes for Matt Shaw, but Jesus Christ, man, go spend some money on kind of like we were talking about the Bears offensive line. A quality backup in case your toy didn't work out. Well, the toy's broken. And now
Sean, and there's so many different things you could have done. You could have signed Matt Chapman, and you could be grooming Matt Shaw to take Nico Horner's place, who's in the last year of his contract. You could have had Chapman standing at third base.
Yeah.
And the Cubs they have the money. They were perfectly capable of doing that. But this is a team. 2 years ago, Matt Chapman was available. They should have signed him. We all talked about it. They should have signed him. Here we are. Like, is Matt Shaw going to learn fast enough to be our third baseman in the playoffs, or do you go sign somebody like this? You shouldn't be having these conversations in the middle of the season. These are the conversations that should be happening in the off season, and you should address these issues. Like you said, Sean, the Bears should address that offensive line when they were like, "Hey, we're going to take a quarterback number 1 overall in the NFL draft." Well, hey, maybe you might want to put an offensive line in front of him so he doesn't die. Like every other team in the NFL knows that. It's like all Cubs team or all Chicago teams have to be forced in these decisions. Like, guys, this is the fundamentals of the game. Why do the fans have to force you into making these decisions? You can't win a World Series without a bullpen, right? Pretty standard. It's not like we figured something out that we've discovered a new sports science. Like, hey guys, hey Ricketts, breaking news. The better the bullpen, the better the chance you have at winning a World Series. Like, yeah, no shit.
and go get it done. And Dansby Swanson, yes, Scott, he was batting 180 in the 5-hole. He has risen up to 215 right now. So that just tells you he's getting it going. And
I think he's better with less pressure.
Less pressure.
Yeah,
and it's fine.
Less pressure. Yeah, sure.
Because you want to know
get the most out of him somewhere. I don't care where you put him. Just get the most out of him because you're paying him $29 million a year.
But the Cubs are finally functioning this year like a real baseball team. The bottom half of your lineup, most of the time looks like the 7 and 8 hole. If you go back to the season, the 7 and 8 hole's been getting on base. Then maybe the 9 hitter has been making it out. But then they've been setting the table for 1, 2, and 3. And this is how the Cubs are driving in runs. Go look at the top half of the Cubs lineup. They're almost all of them are at 30 RBIs already. I mean, the bottom half is setting the table, and the top half is doing their job and driving them in. I mean, you have Suzuki in the 3-hole at 29 RBIs. You have freaking the 2-hole with 29 RBIs. You have your 5-hole with 22 RBIs. I mean, the bottom half of the lineup is setting it up, and the top half of the lineup is doing their job. I don't personally believe that without a bunch of injuries that is going to stop for the Cubs. This is a really, really good hitting lineup. Hopefully the pitching can hold through the rest of the season.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Sean. It's like they're standing on a twig, and sooner or later it's going to snap. Like you can't. There's going to be an injury somewhere. We saw. I mean, how many injuries do they have? Like we already are talking about Assad. They're talking about putting Assad on the 60-day. I mean, there's going to be more injuries. This is baseball. It happens every single year. Last year the Cubs lost half their pitching, half the rotation. It's at one point or another. You're going to have like Imanaga just left to start with cramping. I mean, if that would have been a major injury, that would have been pretty much the end of their season, right? I mean, the Cubs have to do something. They're not done. This is not a complete team. If you go to a 7-game series with the Dodgers right now, I'm still taking the Dodgers. No doubt about it. I'm taking the Dodgers.
Mm.
And Sean, the Dodgers are dealing with a ton of injuries right now too. People keep saying, "Oh, the Dodgers aren't as good as we thought they were." Yeah, well, they have 5 pitchers on the IL right now. Once that team gets healthy, and you talk about even putting Ohtani in the rotation, that team gets a lot more dangerous. A lot more dangerous.
And just so Kyle touched on Javier Assad, for those that did miss it, Assad was moved to the 60-day DL. So it looks like we got 2 months before we'll see him. I don't know if that was retroactive to any date to his original. It didn't say. It just said he was moved to the 60-day DL. So we'll keep an eye on him. But as we talk about this and we talk about possibly getting some injuries, I'm going to make a graphic for this that says down on the farm. As we go down to the farm, we do have a couple of hot things that are going on down on the farm. And one of those is a guy that Kyle knows how much I've been in love with this guy for years. And he's finally maxing out his potential. Unfortunately, the Cubs don't seem to really have a place for him in the minor in the major league system. And Craig Counsell was asked about this, and he goes, "I hope there's not." When they asked where Mo Baller, he was asked where Mo Baller would fit onto this roster.
Man, I wish he was a third baseman.
I wish he was a third baseman too. Craig Counsell's answer was, "I hope there's not one for a while, to be honest, because that means everything here is going quite well." And what he means by that is we have 2 catchers, as we all know. Carson Kelly hitting 370, a 1.14 OPS, 7 home runs over 16 games he's played, impressive 15 walks to 5 strikeouts. He is due to come back to earth, guys. Let's be honest. He will.
I don't know, man. He might just be a grown man playing in a kids' league show.
I hope so. I hope so. But then
I'm not saying he wouldn't struggle in the majors, but man, Ballesteros is absolutely killing everybody in the minors. There's not a pitcher that can strike him or can get him out. There's not a pitcher that can give him a bad game. The guy, he still has his hitting streak going, right?
He still has a hitting streak going.
What is it, 17 games now that guy's got to hit?
Yeah, and these numbers, guys, are slightly off because I did this graphic 2 days ago. He's played twice. But this is just a little sample of what this guy's doing in AAA right now. And I put him on Wrigley Field. You'll see the next graphics on the home of the Iowa Cubs, because he's dreaming of getting here, and I'm dreaming of having him be here for the Chicago Cubs.
Well, Sean, he added 2 more home runs to that too, didn't he?
He I think this is. This is. He did. He had 6 home runs. Yeah, I'm sorry, I did miss that. That's what I'm saying. The graphic is slightly off, but
he's a beast, dude. This guy's an absolute beast.
It does appear, though, for everything that we've talked about here, that Ballesteros, to make his major league debut, is going to need an injury from one of 3 players: Miguel Amaya, Carson Kelly,
or
Michael Busch.
Or Suzuki.
Correct. Yeah, Seiya Suzuki. You could bring him up because, honestly, he has been working on his catching skills and things of that nature. But I think the most important thing in the development of a player is to keep the at-bats coming. You don't want to do what you did with Alexander Canario last year and bring him up here, give him 1 at-bat, and let him sit on the bench for 6
Sean, the Cubs need to stop worrying about people's feelings. Who are you more – if Seiya Suzuki's hurt tomorrow, he's out for a month, who are you more comfortable with at that DH spot? Turner at 40 years old, or a guy who might come up and tear baseball to pieces and become the next superstar? Yeah, I mean, listen, no disrespect to Turner, but that signing just isn't working out. He's not been very good here. He hasn't, and he's 40 years old. I mean, it is what it is. I like Turner as a player. I've always liked Turner. I like watching him. He's a very good player, but his best days are well behind him. Like, if I were the Cubs, I'm getting rid of Turner and I'm bringing Ballesteros up to be your backup DH in case Suzuki gets hurt, because when Suzuki was out for those few games, it didn't look very good. No, it didn't look good. It did not. Justin Turner is not that guy. He's just not that guy.
Justin Turner, for those who don't know, is obviously an older player, had a fantastic career with the Dodgers, but his bat speed is a little bit slower than it has been in his prime years, and he's not catching up the fastballs.
You can see it. You can see it. Bad.
Yeah, he's not been good. But as we continue to take a trip down on the farm, Kyle, and we look for front end pitching, isn't it all possible to get a gentleman by the name of Cade Horton up here.
Oh, he's
who,
coming.
my friends, is having a fantastic 2025 season. Five starts, 23 innings, a 1.17 earned run average, a .96 whip, 14% walkout rate, or a walk rate, a 32.6% strikeout rate. And I put 2 walks in his last 10.2 innings because I did want to talk about that walk rate.
Yeah, that's too high.
Yeah, 14% is a little bit high, but that's why I put that in there, because his last 2 starts, he has limited his walks. And this is the Iowa, because he's down on the farm. You get it? Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
But could this be exactly what we're looking for, or the answer, instead of trading and giving up prospects, Cade Horton coming up and being part of the Chicago Cubs?
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I would feel so much better about this team, if they had Jordan Wicks pitching at a high level, Javier Assad pitching at a high level, and they brought Cade Horton up to use pitching. You might not even have to add another starter. I mean, you might not even have to trade for anybody. You might be able to just go to bring one of these guys in and hope that he's like, if a guy Cade Horton can pitch like that in the majors, then yeah, I think he'd be all right. But problem with Cade Horton is, and I love Cade Horton, I think he's going to be very good at baseball. But when he first comes up here, he's going to struggle. He's going to have rookie struggles. He's starting to play major league hitters who are much better at seeing the ball. He continues to have that walk rate, yeah, he's going to get hit. He's going to give up runs. So if you're talking about winning a World Series, Sean, could Cade Horton come up here and contribute to this team? Absolutely. Maybe like a role in the bullpen. But if you're talking about winning World Series, you need to go get an ace, a top end talent. And the Cubs, Sean, you don't have 38 outfield positions. Somebody has to get traded off this team. I mean, you got to be careful about who you trade. You got to be very, very careful. Is it Kevin Alcantara? Is it Owen Casey? But one of these guys has to be traded.
If it was for me, I think I touched on this last week, it would be Owen Casey. I see some holes in his game that I don't see. So I guess the thing with Owen Casey when it comes to Alcantara is I see more of a 5-tool player in Alcantara than I do in Owen Casey. He hits for power. He 100%. Rips the ball. He can steal. He covers ground in the outfield. I mean,
he's an athlete.
Yeah.
Owen Casey is a power hitter. Yeah. Kevin Alcantara is an athlete. He's very much like a poor man's PCA, because nobody has the speed of PCA. That's just not. He's the fastest guy in baseball. But yeah, Sean, if I had to trade one of the two, it'd be Owen Casey. But you also you're gonna have to throw more than that. You're gonna have to throw more than that. If you want a top end starter, you're gonna have to give up. I'm gonna say 4 prospects, and 2 of them have to be major league ready players, guys like Owen Casey. So who else are you putting in there? Jordan Wicks?
I was just going to touch on Jordan Wicks because I was just looking at his stats, and as I look at his stats, he started in the minor leagues with a sub 4, 3.5 earned run average. Last year he was 536, and this year he's at 640 through his minor league stint. So the Cubs obviously, and one of the one thing I will say is I respect the hell out of the Cubs coaching staff, from Tommy Hotovy and Dustin Kelly. I think we got 2 of the best coaches hitting and pitching in all of baseball.
Yeah, that's why Tommy Hotovy retained his job. I mean, that guy is absolutely amazing. I think there's a lot of teams that want Hotovy.
Didn't Dustin Kelly also retain his job?
I believe so. I think Dustin. I think he was. Bruce, can you look that up for us? I think Kelly was here before Craig Counsell. I'm almost positive.
I'm really happy because Craig Counsell made a really, really good decision, because I was actually I remember talking to you when they were switching the guard, and I'm like, oh my God, does this mean we lose Tommy Hotovy? Like, I was really nervous about that. Like, that dude's a really good baseball coach. He knows what he's doing. They have made some.
Well, Sean, it's not just him either. I mean, there's been people have been picking apart that Cubs minor league coaching staff for a long time. I mean, the Red Sox just took somebody off the Cubs minor league staff last year when Theo Epstein went to Boston. He took somebody with him. One of the guy who was by all accounts respected by the entire league for how he develops pitchers. Now he's playing a much bigger role in Boston. I mean, people are going to start coming after these guys. But, that's why you hired Craig Counsell. That's why you give Craig Counsell $40 million, because you expect him, no matter what, no matter who's here with him, you expect him to man the ship, and he should keep this on course, keep this on track. But Yeah, I mean, they're the Cubs coaching staff in general is starting to come together. They're all starting to have I think the same vision, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Sean, there's been games here where I'm like, oh my God, Council, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? But for the most part, Sean, he's responsible for moving Swanson to the 8-hole. He's responsible for putting this lineup to this order together, this batting order together. He's responsible for he's the one who chose Ben Johnson as their 5th starter over everybody else who was pitching in the spring training. He's starting to figure out this
to be
roster.
the manager that we paid for.
Figure it out. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Appreciate it, man. Have a good day, brother.
Have a good one, Scotty. Yeah, and I'll be perfectly honest, man. I've always said, and you know this, Kyle. I preach patience with this kid, with him coming over. Said he's gotta, get his fingerprints on this team, figure out what's right, what's not right, where they are, where they're going. And it seems in his second year, and people tend to forget. He didn't have his first 2 years in Milwaukee were not successful as his last bunch of years. It took him a couple years to wrap his head around that roster and get things going. And I'll still say, this, we've talked about it. I don't think he's perfect. I don't think he's managed perfectly. I thought he blew that game in Pittsburgh. We were live on the air when he brought in Caleb Thielbar in a high leverage situation. I'm sitting there like, what the hell are you doing, man? Your bullpen was set up a fresh rest. So, but in the long run,
well, Sean, since you're on that farm system, you got any of the pitchers that could be possibly brought up in for the bullpen outside of Cade Horton? Like Nazir Mule. What are those guys doing? Paxton. What are those guys doing down there?
Well, we have a couple of oh shit. Oops. Where's the pitching? We have a couple of pitchers that are actually doing really well. One of his names is a very familiar name to the Chicago Cubs roster, and that is one Keegan Thompson, who has a 2.41 earned run average. He's played in 8 games. He started 18 innings pitched. He's allowed 6 runs, only 5 earned. He struck out 27, which, my friends, is 1 less than Cade Horton in just about in 5 less innings than Cade Horton. Another guy who's having a good year down there, who was just called up, was Chris Flexen. He had 5 games started, 116 earned run average. Brandon Hughes is struggling a little bit. But the guy that was a little bit of a surprise to me that was sent down was Gavin Holloway. He came in, he looked really, really good. He's 9 innings pitched in AAA right now, 9 hits. He's given up 1 home run. He's struck out 15. He's only walked 3. So it's he's got a 1.29 a whip, which is exceptional. And Connor Noland is the other one. Excuse me, 24 innings pitched, 26 strikeouts, 6 walks. He's got a 0.97 whip. Teams are only hitting 196 against him. So there are some.
Why are we still watching Thielbar? That's what I don't understand. Why are we still watching Thiel? You got all this talent down there. When the couple guys they've brought up, Ethan Roberts, these guys are doing well. So why would you not continue the trend, right? Like, well, hey, we're bringing these guys up. They're pitching really well in the majors. Let's give Keegan Thompson a shot. It's not like Keegan Thompson has no experience in Major League Baseball. I mean, it's not like you're bringing a guy up here like, well, we don't want to rush him. We don't want to rush him. This guy's been up here for almost an entire year before. Bring him back up. Sean, I certainly don't think you could do worse than Thielbar. I don't think Keegan Thompson's going to come in and you're going to be like, oh my God, bring Thielbar back up here. This Keegan Thompson. Ugh. Like I won't give you the Cubs are too patient sometimes, man. They're too patient.
Give you another one. 7.1 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks. Hold on, I can't see the stats. No home runs. This guy was on the Cubs last year, 0.95 whip, and AAA is hitting 174 against him. That is one Tyson Miller. And I'll tell you,
dude, that guy was huge for the Cubs last year, Sean. Not that the Cubs were. It's not like he brought them to the playoffs, but I mean, they weren't a very good baseball team. But the reason they won, he was a big reason why they won as many games as they did. And I'm pretty sure they traded for him. So they traded away
They
talent for
traded
him.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they traded talent away to get that guy, and then now they're like, all right, well, thanks for that half a year that we didn't even make the playoffs. Take it easy, Tyson.
I honestly thought that he was going to be a part of this rotation out of the camp, like I did, or
No.
out of the bullpen rotation out of the camp.
The one guy I don't want to see up here is ever again. I don't think he's on the Cubs anymore. Is that Jose Cuas? That's the only guy I don't want anything.
Jose Cuas is not on the Cubs, but one guy that is still down there that isn't doing squad is Caleb Killian, dude. 23.14 earned run average. My God.
Yeah, so Sean,
the Cubs did sign, hold on, Kyle. The Cubs did sign Michael Fulmer, who was a big part of their team a couple of years ago. He's so far pitched 3 innings. He struck out 2, walked none, allowed no hits. He's got a 0.90 earned run average or whip. And teams are hitting 100 against him and a shiny 0.00 earned run average. So there might be some relief on
yeah, you got to imagine somebody's coming. So one of these guys is coming. Like if they're like, hey, go to AAA, we'll see what kind of numbers you put up. If you're good enough, we'll bring you up. If this guy's pitching a 0.0 ERA, aren't those numbers good enough to bring up? I mean, fine if you want to give him a little more time down there, sure. But I mean, there's guys in this bullpen right now that I just don't think should be a part of this team if they make it to the playoffs and are in a playoff series against a team like the Dodgers. Like, I don't think you could put Thielbar up if he's going to face Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Ohtani.
Yeah.
You're almost asking. I mean, he just gave up a game against the Pirates. Can you imagine if he had to play a team like the Dodgers?
And I guess still for me, when it comes to this rotation, if you're banking on Cade Horton, the question for me is, in the dog days of summer of July and August, will Matthew Boyd and Colin Ray still look like April and May?
No, Sean, I think what you've seen Matthew Boyd for the last 2 starts is who he is. And that's no disrespect to Matthew Boyd because he's been pretty good for the Cubs here. But I think what you've seen in the last couple of starts, that's who he is. I think that's who he is. I think pitchers always come out on fire out of spring training. Always. I mean, they've had the whole year off. They had the whole off season. They always look really good to start the season. And then they start to turn into true form and you start to see who they really are. I think Boyd's going to be a 3.5, 4 ERA guy by the end of the season. He should be your 5th starter. That's what I'm talking about, Sean. So you have Imanaga right now as your ace, and I love Imanaga, but I don't believe he's an ace. I think you need to get a guy who's better than him. Then you could eventually put Ben Brown in that 2nd spot because I think Ben Brown has more upside than Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon's your 3, and then you would put Matthew Boyd as your 4. Now, if you go put a starter, you go trade for a starter and put him as your 1, an ace, that's a decent rotation. And then you go into the playoffs with whatever starter you decide to bring in, Imanaga and Ben Brown. I'm more comfortable with that than I am with going in Imanaga, Jameson Taillon, and Matthew Boyd. That's not going to win a World Series, Sean. That's not going to win a World Series. And Cubs fans are probably sick of hearing me be so pessimistic, but I'm just a realist, guys. I've been watching baseball for a long time. That 3-man rotation right there in the playoffs is not going to win a World Series. And if you're so close, Sean, that you can reach out and grab it, then go get it. Win the World Series. Be the Cubs.
100%. And I'll be honest, the guy's still on my radar. And I'm just looking at their record right now, is Pablo Lopez. You know, he's 2-2, 225 earned run average, 26 strikeouts behind. He's got a 1.00 whip, 26 strikeouts. He's only walked 4 thus far in his first 5 starts. And he looks like he's consistently getting through about 6 innings. This is a guy that you want to go get, and a guy that if the Twins continue to struggle, it should be tops on your list. You will have team control over him through 2027.
And I think Dylan Cease is probably still available, Sean. And if you really think you have a chance at winning a World Series, if you honestly believe when you look in the mirror, you're like, we could do this. We could win the championship. We could be better than the Dodgers. Our lineup, our batting order is better than the Dodgers. Then
do the Padres trade being a game out of first place in the toughest division in baseball?
I mean, but he's going to walk.
But as to your point, don't you think the Padres should try to win the World Series with them?
Do you think the Padres can win the World Series?
I do.
You think so? I don't think so. I think they're inconsistent. I think they're inconsistent. That's
I
the
think
problem.
they're
with
a
them.
really, really good baseball team. We'll have to see. I don't know
I
if
think
anyone saw this
they're
last
better
night.
than they've been in years past. But I mean, Sean, this is a team that had Tatis, Soto. I mean, they had a better roster than they do now, and they didn't win the World Series.
Uh,
They
I
had
think
Darvish.
I personally think they're one of the better teams, but we'll see. Fernando Tatis, for anyone who didn't see it last night, he got hit on the arm, and when they showed him on the screen, the lump on his arm was as big as a baseball. I mean, it looked bad.
That's another thing, and that's not Fernando Tatis's fault. But Sean, he's dealt with injuries his entire career
Yeah.
now, or suspensions, one or the other. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think the Padres are still two good players away from winning World Series, as are the Cubs. But I mean, do you take that risk and keep Cease on that roster? And if you lose the World Series, you just missed out on 4 prospects.
Man, that's a business decision.
That's tough.
You know,
That's
what
tough.
if
It's a
Kate
tough
Horton's in
decision
that
for them.
deal? You know?
Well, you can't give Kate Horton because it's a rental.
Well, that's
You
what I'm
can't.
saying. What if that's what they want?
No, they couldn't. They wouldn't ask for Kate. No, because it's a rental. They wouldn't even ask for Kate Horton. The Cubs would be like, "That's ridiculous. We're not giving you a 10-year starter in majors for a guy who's going to be here for 2 months. That's absolutely ridiculous." But you could give. They could get. I mean, if at this point, if the Padres
Unless
get
you sign
anything
him.
out of him, if they get Owen Casey and he ends up being a good all-star outfielder for the next 5 years, that's better than nothing.
Wouldn't that be ironic, seeing that I believe the Padres were the original team to draft Owen Casey? I have a couple of his Bowman first rookie cards.
Yeah, and who was the
Pretty sure
original
that's
team to draft Dylan Cease?
the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
The Chicago Cubs. I'm trying to see here what Dylan Cease has been up to. Ugh. Oh, whoa. Not good. Whoa.
Could you give us the number, Sean?
Oh.
Woof.
He's 1-2 with a 561 earned run average, a 160 whip. He's struck out 39, walked 15, but he's given up 39 hits. And I'm trying to get to how many home runs he's given up on this year.
Well, Sean, that's another thing.
Teams are hitting almost 300 against him this year.
That's another thing, Sean. We keep talking about the Cubs having to add a starter at the trade deadline. Is there an ace available? Probably. I mean, maybe not. That's why you should have signed Max Fried. That's why you should have signed Max Fried.
Stressing Pablo Lopez, because you're on a Minnesota team that's not that good at baseball, and for the love of everything holy, you can turn this around really easily by getting that guy. Now you got Shota, you got him, and I know the BBIP for Tyon and Ben Brown has been a little up, and those are balls batted in play. Guys, sometimes when you look at errors, and I believe Ben Brown and Tyon have the most errors committed in the games that they've played, so their BBIP is up just by dumb luck that balls batted in play didn't work out their way. But at the same time, I have a lot of confidence. Jameson Tyon has looked really good this year. I touched a little bit at the beginning of the year about his velocity being down. He's actually went up his last couple of starts. It'll be interesting when he's on the bump today against the Brewers, because I'll be honest, the Brewers lineup, as much as I'm not a Brewers fan and I think their team took a step back, the first 5 or 6 hitters in their lineup are very tough outs.
I mean, William Contreras is a superstar.
Pat Contreras, Jackson Chourio, Bryce Terang is having a fantastic year. What's his name? Christian Yelich loves to kill the Cubs, although I will say Ben Brown made him look silly last night, which is anytime Christian Yelich looks bad, I'm pretty happy. I'm not going to lie. But that lineup is not easy. And I am going to say, I do think that it's going to be a rough start for Quintana, and the Cubs are going to have to put their best foot forward to sweep this series. I do think the Cubs beat the Brewers again today. Freddie Peralta has just been a pain in the Cubs' ass for so many years. I'm going to put that one and say 50-50, but if they win today, they're leaving Milwaukee with a minimum of a 4-game lead over the Brewers, and that's exactly where I want the Cubs to
Good. Just keep beating the shit out of the Brewers, and maybe a guy like Freddie Peralta becomes available at the trade deadline.
And bring him in. And we've been going at this for a minute. We're going to take a look I'm gonna make another graphic for this at the week ahead. So we do have the Giants coming into Wrigley, and the one great thing about this trip is guess who pitches Sunday? That's right, Mr. Webb. So the Cubs will miss him at Wrigley, but the Cubs get Verlander. They get Robbie Ray, who has been a thorn in the Cubs side as well. While he was playing for the Diamondbacks. And I don't know too much about Romp, who's pitching in the first game. Obviously, he's the weaker link in their rotation. Verlander rocking a 438, and then you got Robbie Ray with a 373. I think the Giants, personally, I know Keith's not watching, so I can say this. I think the Giants are taking a little bit of a step back. They came out of the chute firing on all cylinders. They were in first place for a couple of days in the NL West. I like the Cubs taking 2 out of 3 in that San Francisco series. What do you think about San Francisco and the Cubs, man?
Yeah, I think San Francisco is another team that needs to add at the trade deadline if they want to be a serious contender. I think the Cubs are much better than the Giants right now, but yeah, I think the Cubs should take 2 out of 3 for sure.
Should take 2 out of 3. And right after that, the Cubs head to the Big Apple, Citi Field in New York.
This one's a little tougher.
This one is going to be a little tougher. But Kyle, when we were watching that graphic the other day, who is the team in baseball who's played the most teams under 500?
Yeah, the Mets. I mean, they've had the easiest schedule in baseball, but that Mets team is a good team, Sean.
It is a good team. And not only is it a good team, the polar bear is on a tear.
Yeah, he's back. Like we talked about, Sean, he's back. What we just talked about this. You put a superstar in the lineup, it makes everybody better. They went and got Juan Soto. Everybody on the Mets is getting better. That's how sports works.
Kyle, this trip to New York, to the Big Apple, Citi Field, and I found a graphic there with Pete Alonso on the back scoreboard there, because I figure that's going to be the key to stopping this ball club is holding him down. And I will tell you this, I think I hate to say it, but I think the Cubs are going to drop 2 out of 3 to the Mets. They'll still finish this week over 500 or at 500 and 2-3. They'll be 3-3. It's just something about the NL East. They just dropped the only series they've lost so far this year was the Philadelphia Phillies. The NL East.
They split with they lost, or they split with the Diamondbacks, right? The first series against the Diamondbacks.
They split with the Diamondbacks 2-2. They won it in Wrigley. I guess for the season series, they did lose the series in San Diego 2 games out of 3. They won 2 out of 3, so they split the season series. So I guess it's not their first series loss. But we do have Philadelphia coming back up in the following week. So I love how everyone came into this month. They were like, oh, man, it's going to be so much easier. Here's a 9-game stretch against the Brewers, the Giants, and the Mets. The road just isn't getting easier for the Cubs. It does, though, because when we come back on the air next week, we're going to be talking about the Florida Marlins to the Chicago White Sox, back to the Florida Marlins. So that should be a nice little break for the Cubs, where they're obviously still have to play up to expectations, but just not be as tight as they have been against all these good teams that they've had to run up against. And you know what's great? In about 2 weeks, we're done with Philadelphia for the rest of the year as well.
I'll say this, Sean. As we're getting out of here, I will say this. Those teams that you just talked about, the Phillies, the Mets, they don't like seeing the Cubs on their schedule either. The Cubs
I agree.
This team is legit. This team, I think this might be the best hitting team in baseball. This might be the best offensive team in baseball. Them, the Yankees, the Dodgers. If the Cubs can find a way to just shore up this rotation, add a couple more pieces, whether it be through the farm system or trades, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. This team has a chance to win a World Series, barring any major injury like losing Kyle Tucker for the year or something like that. So the Cubs need to act like it, Sean. You've put this team together. You've convinced us for the last 5 years to stay patient. The farm system's coming. Eventually we'll be a championship caliber team. You are championship caliber team is within your grasp. So grab it, go get it.
And before we get out of here, I have to say one thing. I meant to do this 2 weeks ago, and I'm glad I waited, because 2 weeks ago, my Kansas Jayhawks were in 4th place in the Big 12. Well, I'm glad it took 2 weeks to get back on the air, because the Jayhawks are now ranked 25th in the country. They're in second place in the Big 12. We're going to the College World Series, baby. We're in the tournament. I just got to say, Rock Chalk, Brady Ballinger is balling out for the Jayhawks, batting .368 on the year. Jackson Houck, our power hitter, is up there hitting .326. He's also hit 17 out of the ballpark this year. And Daryl Azario hitting .318. And I got to give a shout out to our starting our shortstop, Brady Council. That's right, folks. The son of our head coach. He's hitting .290 this year. He started all 47 games for the Jayhawks. He's had 169 at bats. He's slugging .562. He's got 12 home runs this year, 10 doubles, 49 hits. He's actually too. I mean, the Jayhawks fielding this year as a team is .980. They are an unbelievable team. I think they are underrated right now. They are 25th, like I said, in the country, second in the Big 12. We got 6 games left on the schedule, 8 games left on the schedule. So Rock Chalk Jayhawk, let's make a run in the baseball postseason here. Let's get into that College World Series, baby. Come on, Jayhawks. Give me something to get fired up about. But this is a good baseball team, man. So when that bracket comes out, I'll keep everyone updated. I'm sure most people don't care, but I'm going to keep you updated.
Nice.
Jayhawks baseball.
Anything else, Sean?
No, nothing else. Hey, Lindsay, thanks for checking in. We're gonna keep this thing. We're gonna keep this thing going. Thanks, Bruce, man. I appreciate that. And Bruce is hanging out with us.
Guys.
But no, until next week, boys. I like where the Cubs are. I like what we're doing. I like where we are. I like the Cubs winning today. And by the time we get back to you, so if we count the 6, I count the 6 plus 2. I think the Cubs will be 5-3. Have a 5-3 record by the time that we see you guys next week, next Saturday. Kyle, any thoughts on these 8 games? Give us a record. Give us a record. We got the Mets. We got the Giants for 3. We got the Giants for 3, and then the Mets for 3, and then we finished these last 2 against the Stinky Brewers from Milwaukee.
Yeah. So you got 8 games. I'll say 4-4.
4-4. Bruce, what do you got, bud?
6-2.
6-2. All right.
Maybe, yeah.
5-3. Bruce has got 6-2.
It's fun to watch.
4-4. We're gonna start giving away Bozo bucket.
Yeah. They're fun to watch. I know this is fun.
Hey, Cubs are on the air today at 6:10. I believe it is the game of the week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Are they the game of the week on Fox? And if anybody's around tonight,
Fox.
if anyone checks out the show just a little bit later, Kyle's birthday party is at 102 North River Street tonight. Coming out with him. Unfortunately, I've never been to his birthday party. I'm probably not going to be there tonight. We're going to get out. We're going to go do something together to celebrate Kyle turning, what, 36? Is it 36?
37, Sean.
37? Well, I feel like I just bought you that Walter Payton shirt for your 34th birthday like a year ago. Like,
Time flies when you're having fun.
and the Cubs are on at 6:10. They are on marquee. They are not the game of the week this week. They were the game of the week against the Phillies last week where they got trounced. But
yeah, thanks to everybody in the chat, man. As always, appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Until next week, go Cubs, bear down, and stay safe out there, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.